I am Marcus, a Roman soldier, one of those ordered to arrest Jesus. But I never understood why my heart trembled when he looked at me that night. A gaze without blame, without fear, but as if he already knew everything. He knew I would betray myself. He knew I would tell this truth on a day when the world believed it already understood him. And now, having deserted the army and living in seclusion on a hillside in Gethsemane, I recount what I saw, because I was the first witness. They say Jesus was arrested for declaring himself the Son of God, for inciting the people to revolt, for being a threat to the Roman Empire. But I know it wasn't Caesar who gave the order. It was the priests. He was betrayed, not by soldiers, but by one of his own, Judas Iscariot. He didn't say much, but that night his eyes were darker than a bottomless pit. When he walked into the Garden of Gethsemane, I thought he came to pray. But when he stepped forward and kissed Jesus, and I heard the Lord say, "Are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss?" My heart shook, because I realized we weren't arresting a rebel. We were arresting someone who knew his fate and didn't run. Not in the temple, not among the crowds. Jesus was arrested in a garden at night, beneath the shadows of olive trees, under the dim silver of moonlight cast over the cold earth. Gethsemane, where he had prayed until he bled, pleading, "Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me." He did not run. He did not resist. I saw a man who willingly walked into the darkness. We took him to Caiaphas's house. In the cold basement, Jesus was bound, not with rope, but with leather cuffs inscribed with curses by the priests. I had seen those used only for those deemed defilers of doctrine. I stood guard outside. But one night, I heard whispers from the basement, voices not human. "Whose son are you? Of the light or the other one?" I shivered, because I knew there was only one person in that room: Jesus. From Caiaphas, he was dragged to the governor, Pontius Pilate. Pilate questioned him. He did not answer. Then Pilate asked, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus simply said, "You say so." That sentence made Pilate lose control. History says he washed his hands to avoid guilt, but I know he saw something in Jesus' eyes that made him afraid to convict and afraid to release. A guard named Silvius, big, cold-hearted, was the first to escort Jesus after his arrest. But just hours later, the man clawed his own face and screamed through the night, "His eyes, they won't close. He sees everything. He's in my head." He died 3 days later, eyes open. No one could shut them. Beneath the prison in Jerusalem where Jesus spent his last night, the guards found a strange symbol etched into the wall, carved with fingernails. No one dared touch it. Since that night, every blood moon, that symbol bleeds. An old priest said that on the night Jesus was arrested, all the oil lamps in the temple went out at the same time, with no wind, no people nearby. And ever since, on that exact day each year, the temple lights briefly flicker and go dark. No one can explain it. Golgotha, or the place of the skull, was no ordinary execution site. It's where restless souls linger. People whisper that on moonless nights, white shapes drift across the hill. When we escorted Jesus up the hill, I walked behind him, and I swear the ground beneath me was ice cold, though the sun blazed above. Jesus fell 3 times. Each time he did not cry out, but with each fall, a flock of crows appeared on the horizon, circling the hill, drawn by something unseen. I've never seen that happen to any other condemned man. We nailed him between 2 thieves, and I remember clearly, when the cross was raised, the sky went black instantly. The sun vanished, not clouds. It was as if light itself had been swallowed. His final words made me weep, not for their meaning, but the sound of his voice, trembling in pain and despair. Jesus, the one who worked miracles, healed the lame, raised the dead, now felt abandoned. I remember how he looked up when he said it, not in anger, but as if searching for someone and not finding them. When Jesus took his last breath, the ground shook. None of us were ordered to kneel, but every guard did, not out of fear, but because something had just left this world. The temple walls cracked, and according to the priests, The veil separating the Holy of Holies tore from top to bottom, a thing that could not happen without supernatural force. I will not name him, but you must know this. The soldier ordered to thrust his spear into Jesus' side to confirm his death. When the spear touched him, blood and water flowed. But what stunned everyone was this. Jesus' right eye opened and stared directly at that soldier, though his body was already lifeless. That man screamed as if possessed, had to be bound and taken away. He never spoke coherently again, only repeated, "I saw him. He still sees me." They say Jesus' body was buried in Joseph of Arimathea's tomb, but there's a 12-hour gap in all records. Never explained. I know, because I was assigned to guard the tomb the first night, and I swear on what little honor I have left. The tomb trembled in the dark, and there was a whisper from within, in a language not Hebrew, not Latin. I did not understand it, but I knew. It was not human speech. Years later, long after I left the army, I found one of the women who followed Jesus, Mary Magdalene. She was not old, but her hair was nearly white. When I asked her, "Did he really rise?" she did not answer directly. She placed a charred piece of cloth in my hand. There was blood on it, and a strange symbol, not from any alphabet. She said, "This is not the blood of an ordinary man. This is blood transformed by the Holy Spirit and also touched by darkness. We thought the Lord had died, but us and others are searching for him, not to worship, but to claim what he left behind." Jesus was not arrested for madness, not for rebellion. He was arrested because he didn't belong to this world. He carried a light that darkness could not bear. And that night in Gethsemane, we thought we came to capture him. But truly, he stepped forward to embrace his fate. No one captured him. We were just fulfilling a script, already written. If I lie in a single word, may the heavens silence me forever. But if I speak the truth, then now you know, we did not kill a man. We crucified the last holy thing left on this earth. Marcus, former Roman soldier. That night, we thought we were the victors. I bore the Roman eagle on my chest. I once believed there was no power greater than the empire, no one mightier than the sword. But I was wrong. I held the chains. I drove the nails into a man whom I still don't fully understand. He died, but a part of me died with him. Then 3 days later, rumors spread. He had risen. I did not believe it. But that night, in a stone chamber beneath the earth, I saw a light flood the room. Not from torches, not from moon or stars. A figure stood in the doorway. That light did not blind me. It made me see my sins. I knelt. But when I looked up, he was gone. Years later, I am no longer a soldier. I live in a nameless desert, writing this with blood and tears. Not to confess and but to warn. There are things people call history, but are merely lies repeated too many times. Jesus was not killed. He gave himself as the final key to open the door between life and death, between sin and truth. And if one day you hear a whisper in the night calling your name, don't turn around, kneel, because maybe he is watching.